Hey guys, so I want to answer the question, how to grow as an accountant who is trying to start a business. I'm going to scoot back. I'm in Florida, so I'm in a new recording kind of location slash, I guess if you want to call it a studio kind of thing today. So I'm kind of trying to figure out what is the right angle for this. But whenever I'm thinking about starting a business, really starting to grow, I'm thinking in terms of time frames, because depending on which time frame you're at, it's going to cause a different input to be required to get a certain output. So, for example, whenever you're starting something, it's always harder to make it to make it work, right? So, for example, it's hard to get in shape. Right? If you've never been in shape in your life, the first maybe 3 to 5 pounds you lose really quickly because of water weight. After that, that's when it's hard, right? To keep losing the weight, to lose the extra 5 pounds, extra 10 pounds, extra 15, 20 pounds. But once you have lost that, first 10, 15 pounds, losing the next 20, 25, even 30 pounds is very, very, very simple, because now you have the right habits built up, and now your body has really adjusted to this new lifestyle that you're putting it through. Or if it's a diet, still a miniature lifestyle. But it's the same thing when it comes to our business. Now, when I'm starting the beginning, I understand that the first 1 to 3 months are going to be the hardest months. This is setting the foundation for the rest of your journey, right? Right now, I'm in Florida, so, and it's this last 2 years, I have traveled more than I've ever traveled in my entire life. Why is that? How do I have time to travel? How do I have time to do all this stuff? It's because the businesses are getting easier and easier to run, so it's less time on my end to actually do things, but I'm just more managing process that I set up 5 and 10 years ago, right? So it's all the same thing. Now, the challenge for you is when you're starting out, what do you do, right? So first things first, I would be focusing on what's important. So there's a principle called the 80-20 rule, meaning that 20% of the things that you do will lead to 80% of the results. And then 80% of the stuff you do basically is wasting your time, right? So the majority of stuff that you're doing is going to be wasting your time. It's just not really needed to move the needle forward. Versus if you can focus on the 20 things that matter, right, you'll be able to grow. Now, I'll give you an example. So a lot of people, when they get started, they're so focused on I need a business name, I need a website, right? And a lot of people are thinking okay, so if I get the business name, that's going to make me sound official, so people actually want to work with me. And it's okay, yes, but that is not really the thing that's going to move the needle forward. Whether you use first name, last name, accounting, first name, last name, bookkeeping, depending on what you're doing, what state you live in, right? Is not really going to be that much more clever than perfectbookkeeping.com. In the beginning, no one knows you, so it doesn't really matter what you call yourself. You can call yourself city name bookkeeping, and it would still have the same weight as anything else. It doesn't really matter at the beginning. Once maybe you have 5, 10, 15 clients, maybe you want to sell the business, you want to take your face off of the business, okay, maybe you would change your name and you would have some different things. Right? But in the beginning, right, it doesn't really matter, right? So that's just one example. Another thing that doesn't really matter is having 5 or 6 or 7 different marketing channels. So I have a student in my mentorship program right now, and every week when we do our calls, I have to kind of remind her, hey, so she joined the program probably about 3 weeks ago. And the first week was about setting things up. So set up your profile, give you different templates of what to say, how to set things up. First week, she books first week I think she books 5 calls. Next week, she books 3 calls. And then I was talking, I was hey, so why'd you book a little bit less calls this week than last week? She said, well, I want to do some email marketing, I want to do this, I want to do this, I want to do this. I was well, in our course, we haven't talked about that stuff, right? So you're 1 week in, and I need you to follow this roadmap. Yeah, but I feel I'm just not working hard enough. What do you mean? Yeah, so I thought that in order to make money, you have to feel you're working hard. No. Remember, 80-20. So historically, yes, you would have had to work hard. You would have had to do email marketing to a warm audience. You would have had to do cold calls. You would have had to do this. You would have had to do this. You would have had to do this. But I stripped all of that away from you so that you can stay focused on the one thing that works. Because remember, it's not about how much marketing you're doing. It's about how many calls per week are you getting. The first week you got 5 calls. This week you've scheduled 3. That's already 8 calls. How many calls do you have the entire last year? I had about 7 calls. Okay, so in 2 weeks you've had more calls than you had your entire last year. And you're working way harder last year than what you're working now. So what that shows is all this other stuff isn't really that relevant. Just focus on the stuff that books the calls, let everything else fall away. And we'll talk about that in a minute, like, what some of those methodologies can be for you watching this video. But that's number one. And I think there's a lot of these like shoulds that cause people to really struggle, right? I should make content. I should do a bunch of marketing. I should be making a website. I should, right? All these shoulds cause us to add things to our plate that just overwhelms us. Remember, if you're working a full-time job, you don't have a lot of time to kind of waste, right? So you have to make sure the stuff that you do is extremely, extremely, extremely effective. So that's number one. Now, another thing about the 80-20 rule is understanding that it's not just a marketing issue that most people have, okay? So there was a guru probably back in it was like 2015, and I first heard this, and it made zero sense to me because I was a beginner back in 2015. I started my bookkeeping business, and it took me a little while to get going. The first 8 months, like the most money I made was like $2,300 from like a cleanup, right? But once I understood this stuff, then growing the business was very, very linear, right? Now, number one, most people don't really have a marketing issue, right? Because all marketing is about is letting people know that you exist and getting them to come closer to you so that they want to do a consultation call with you. Marketing is very efficient, very simple when you have it down, but up until then, everything else is what makes your marketing work. So I'll give you an example. Most people run into business owners that could afford to pay them $600, $800, $1,000, $2,000 a month, but you don't come across very credible, and your consultation calls are atrocious. Like, not you specifically, I'm talking about most people. I don't know you if you're watching. Maybe you're an amazing, person at consultation calls. Or maybe you do have a different bottleneck at this moment in time. But if you have, under 5 clients, it's probably a sales issue. So what do I mean by that? So number one, when it comes to credibility, a lot of people, like going back to the business name of the website, they're trying to do external things that people can see in order to feel credible, when it's actually the internal stuff that you talk to people about in your conversations, how you speak, how do you present yourself, how do you come across. I had a person in my mentorship program, like, don't take this the wrong way, but if someone's trying to learn bookkeeping, I have them actually go with the controller from my accounting firm named Sharon, and they basically do a call out there. This dude showed up in his bed in like boxers and underwear. I'm like, what? Yeah, he was just laying in his bed with he had no clothes on. And like, this guy had been in business for like 6 months, and I asked him, I was like, bro, like, when you're talking to a potential client, right, how do you usually like dress? And he's like a very young man, which if you're like, 40s, 50s, 60s, it's not as important, but if you're a young man with not a lot of experience, both work experience or business experience, he's like, oh yeah, I wear like a sweatpants, and like it was some kind of weird thing that he was wearing. I was like, bro, you gotta kind of put yourself more together, because the first impression is gonna be really, really important for you. And I'm not saying clothes are everything, but like, don't actively sabotage yourself. You want to remove as many distractions as possible. If you notice, it wasn't until I had probably about 3,000 subscribers where I stopped wearing like suits on these like YouTube videos, right? And the reason why was because I was trying to make my channel have a really good first impression, right? So it's like the branding was on point. Nowadays, I don't really care, because I don't really do these videos necessarily to just make money. So it's like, if you buy something from me, cool. If you don't, what does it really matter these days? But just kind of thinking about that, you have to kind of like come across as professional as you possibly can. So number one is professional. Number two is like, being on time. Number three is, do you talk about yourself or do you talk about other person's like situation? I had this lady in our mentorship program, and like all these stories I talk about, like the reason why I can tell you this, because like we change them. Once we change them, they find success, right? So I'm not like making fun of this person. I'm just showing you what are these like little things that cause success or failure. So she would get on the phone and basically tell the business owner every reason why she could only work for them like at this time, like why she didn't really want to start a business, but she had to because of her kids. It's like, bro, nobody cares. Like, and I'm not trying to say that in a mean way. Like, it's not that what you're saying is not important, but if someone's going to pay you money, the only thing that matters is what is going on with them. Once they start paying you money, you can start talking about your life, right? But I would always talk about any perceived challenge or slight in a way that's going to make it better for the individual. So I'll give you an example. Rather than saying, I can only work 1 hour a day on your books because my baby has very specific times that they're awake or napping or whatever. I would say, okay, so my baby naps at these specific times, so I know I can work on your books at this time, and this time, okay? And what that allows me to do is I can literally segment it out during the day so I can focus strictly on you, I can have these reports to you, and I have this. Same exact challenge that you're facing. I can't do something because of this, or because of this, this allows me to do that for you, okay? So it's not that she had these challenges with their situation, it was just how she's presenting these challenges. I'll give you another thing. One thing a lot of people struggle with is like teaching on their consultation call or like adding like weird spots of value that they don't really know. So I'll give you a good example. Do not teach on your consultation calls. What do I mean by that? So I was speaking to this lady last week. She wasn't a good fit for the program just for a couple different reasons. But we were talking and like she has had a lot of trouble signing people up for her virtual CFO / like different like technology kind of thing. And it was very interesting because I was talking, she said, yeah, my consultation call, I like teach them so much and blah, 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 and I'm an educator. And I was like, okay, but are they buying from you? No, they just say, okay, cool, let me take what I learned, I'm going to try it on my own. And she's like, I don't know why they do that. You know, I feel like if I just teach them enough stuff, like they would want to work. And I was like, well, no. You just taught them exactly what to do to go do it themselves. And what that does, that's not necessarily a problem if you're doing it in a controlled manner, but if you need a sale right then and there, don't do a lot of teaching stuff. You know what I mean? It just triggers the DIY brain. Now, it's actually kind of tough because people who teach make the least, right? And this is an unfortunate kind of aspect of our society, right? They have like this common like thing that teachers don't make a lot of money, and it's not that teachers are bad people or that they shouldn't make money. I'm not saying they should or shouldn't make money, but what I'm saying is, you know, the reality is that they oftentimes don't make as much money as some other people, right? But they're the people that teach the most, they educate the most, they're trying to like change the society, right? But people that instead who make a lot of money, people who document what they're going to do and what they have done. Okay? Think about it. Plumbers. You get there, okay, cool, I'm going to unclog your toilet, I'm going to do this with the drain, I'm going to do this. I get done, they do the task, they tell you, okay, I did this, I did this, I did this. Pay the money, we're gone. I didn't teach you how to go and unclog your own drain, I didn't do this. I just told you what I was going to do, so that's your consultation call. Then I did it. And now you're going to refer me to your other friends and you're going to tell me how my business grows. Same thing with lawyers. You go in the consultation call, okay, cool, you got hit by a semi-truck, okay, so we're going to do this, we're going to do this, we're going to do this. They get to court, they do their job, okay, boom, they tell you, I did this, I did this, I did this. You pay them, they're off, right? So people who teach make the least, people who document what they're doing and what they've already done are the ones that make the most. So in your consultation call, you need to go from changing and trying to be like, okay, so first so this is what this means, and this is what this means, this is why it's happening, and this is what's going on, this is what you need to do to fix it, this is why you should work, this blah, blah. No. I'm going to do this. Do you want to work with me? Yes or no? Okay, cool. Now, while you're working together, I have done this. Do you want to continue working with me? That's all we do on a consistent basis, right? Now, that is number one. Okay, so if let's say we have these 80-20 principles, and oftentimes 80-20 principle, like the 20% that's going to make 80% of the results in the beginning, is going to be your sales. Now, to keep it simple, what I would think for marketing, all you need to do is number one, you have a consistent channel you can stay consistent on for at least 1 year. If you can't do it for a year, don't do it for a day. The reason why is because most social media platforms, just most businesses, take a little bit of time for you to maximize the result of a channel. Not to say you won't get clients in the first 1 day, 2 days, 5 days, 10 days. You can get clients very quickly. But a lot of marketing online tends to have a upward kind of spiral, upward trajectory, right? So first it goes a little slow, then boom, shoots up. right? So if you can't give something enough time to be consistent, you're never going to really reap the true rewards of what you're trying to do. You might get 1 or 2 clients, but if you're trying to get, 5K, 10K, 15, 20K per month, you have to give something enough time to actually work. So one thing that I like to do, I like thinking about, for example, let's say I like LinkedIn, you want to do Facebook, they lose. You want to do Facebook, fine. They both work. LinkedIn is just easier to understand who is the highest quality client for you. If you don't really care about the quality of the client, whatever, we can do Facebook. Number 1, you need a channel that can do outreach. So on Facebook, you can send messages, you can respond to posts, you can comment, you can interact with people. The reason why it's important is because 50% of people that sign up with you will respond to a message and then book a call with you. Versus the other 50% will actually go through a piece of content, whether it's a video, whether it's an article, etc., right? So you have to really go and get that main 50%. Now with outreach, it is actually faster to get someone to book a call. You can meet someone in a day, you can literally get them on a call within the next 30 minutes. That's why the first lady we talked about in this video, she got 5 calls in her first week. It wasn't like anything magic, it's just that there's a way you can talk to people to get them to want to work there. We give you a message script inside of our mentorship program, so you don't really have to, guesstimate how to do that stuff. We give it to you. Now the second thing is you need to have some form of content that converts people. Now this is very challenging for most people because most people don't even know how to, if you don't know what to say on a consultation call to get someone to buy from you, then you're gonna have a really hard time making content that gets people to buy. So I would actually not do this conversion type content until you have 1 to 3 clients. Just save that for later, Keep building your friends list, right? So friend request people, if you want to do a LinkedIn, you can connect. You can go and respond to job posts, build your audience to people who are going to eventually see your post. Next thing that I would be thinking about is nurture content. So nurture content is a little different than conversion content. Conversion content is very precise and getting people to take a very specific action based on pain points and problems that you're talking about. Nurture content is more about documenting your life and having people follow along in your journey. Now this can be written stuff, this can be video, it can be a podcast, doesn't really matter. But I would be focused on, at least in the beginning, maybe if you can make 1 to 2 posts that are just updates about what you're doing. Hey, I learned how to use LinkedIn today. Hey, I learned about the Augusta rule. Hey, I learned about this thing. Hey, one of my clients was doing this and this is what I learned. Hey, I found some undeposited funds inside of my client's accounts. Hey, I found this check was undeposited the other day, right? We're just documenting what we're doing, whether it's for our business, whether you're kind of utilizing, if you do accounting for your job, just say the stuff that you did at your job, but just don't mention it was for your job. Just kind of treat it like it was a client kind of thing. But we're just documenting what's going on. Generally what happens, anyone that follows you consistently for a year will want to buy from you within about 3 to 6 months of watching you. It's very, very interesting when you kind of see the phenomenon. And I didn't really understand this until probably about 3 months ago, 2 years ago on YouTube. The first year on YouTube, I thought everything was about teaching people stuff. But then afterwards, it was more about letting people know who you are. And once that started working for me, I started sharing with other students in our mentorship program. And they were like, whoa, this is crazy, right? Because you don't have to create anything. A lot of people get stuck because oh, I have to think about what to say. I have to do this. It's no, just chill. Just talk about what you're doing. Have a good life and just keep moving. That's it. Right? So if you can do that with your marketing, right, and then when you start really getting clients, then you can start just repeating what you're saying in your consultation calls to start making good conversion type content, right? Now we have different videos on this channel talk about how to make content, how to do messaging, how to do marketing. So this video is more about what you should be doing to grow your career. Now if you want to learn about how to go and get clients, I would go and type in, and I'll actually put a link probably out in the description or in the card section of this video that will be talking about how to go and get clients. And I would watch one of those other videos on the channel. That will probably complement this video really well, okay? So leave a good rest of your day. Take it easy. Also, if you want some help doing any of the stuff we talked about inside this video, hey, I don't know how to do marketing, I can't do sales, I don't know what I'm doing, and you want some help so you can get to that next level and be able to have a very consistently growing business, go ahead and click the link inside the description either above or below the video to book a call with myself, see if I can help you inside of our mentorship program where I can take you through all this stuff and more and get you to whatever your life goal is, okay? Hopefully you have a good rest of your day. Take it easy and talk to you soon.